Some 6,000 years ago, Iranians shifted to agriculture and shepherding after living for a long time through hunting. They migrated to the central plains of the Iranian Plateau. There, they began to harness the potentials of the land and began agricultural activities. They also developed complex systems such as the Qanat to access water and irrigate their lands. Iran is one of the first countries in which agricultural roots have been realized thousands of years ago. Now Iran is one of the top producers in some important agricultural products.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Bazaar. In this edition, we'll be looking at Iran's agricultural industry and market. We will also explore the role of rural women in the national agricultural sector. And we will briefly discuss how their hard work and perseverance has contributed to the country's agroeconomy. So don't go anywhere, and let's go check it out.
Iran enjoys 11 of the 13 world climates. This means that in addition to having the 4 seasons, it can also have extreme temperature differences. The northernmost point of Iran can have a 10 degrees Celsius temperature decrease relative to the southernmost point near the Persian Gulf. This provides great opportunities for a diversity of crops to be grown and harvested. Around 92% of the plants in the world are able to grow in various areas of the country. Iran has an estimated population of around 84 million people, a third of which live in rural areas. Just under 40,000 villages are scattered across the nation, and their main source of income is through crop production and livestock husbandry. Farming and cultivation is regulated through the Ministry of Agriculture. It is the main government body responsible for agricultural products and food security in the country. But with such a large spread of rural communities active in agriculture, it is difficult to directly manage each and every single one. For this reason, these communities are often organized into cooperatives, which are then overseen by the Ministry of Cooperatives in Iran.
Some of Iran's main subsistence crops are wheat and cereals, sugar beet and cane, as well as lamb and poultry, all of which are important for domestic food supply. A large variety of vegetables and fruits are also grown in Iran, but we will get to that later. This sector also employs a large number of people who depend on this income to maintain their households.
We caught up with a few cooperative communities in southern Kerman province, which is one of the heartlands of Iran's agricultural industry.
کشت صنعت جیرفت یک بنگاه اقتصادی است که در سال 1352 تأسیس شده. کشت و صنعت‌ها در جهت تقریبا مخالف شرکت‌های سهامی زراعی ایجاد شدند. شرکت‌های سهامی زراعی به منظور تجمیع اراضی خرد و دهقانی راه اندازی شدند. کشت و صنعت‌ها واحدهای بزرگ اقتصادی بودند بر پایه یک نظام بهره‌برداری جدید.
This area has some of the richest farmlands in the country, and its rural areas are home to a population of around 800,000 people. This region has about 250,000 hectares of arable land that are used for farmlands, orchards, and livestock rearing. Some 4 million tons of agricultural products come from this area, which is around 4% of the country's total domestic needs.
تو بحث محصولات عرض میشه خدمتتون سیفیجات انواع محصولات مثل خیار، هندوانه، گوجه، سیب زمینی طرح استمرار، پیاز طرح استمرار. تو بحث غلات عرض میشه خدمتتون کشت گندم داریم، کشت جو داریم. تو بحث دانه‌های روغنی کلزا رو داریم، کنجد داریم. تو بحث گیاهان رنگی ما حنا رو داریم، وسمه رو داریم که واقعاً از نظر تولید این دو تا محصول در سطح استان اول هستیم. عرض میشه خدمتتون تو بحث محصولات دامی باغی ما عرض میشه خرما رو داریم، انواع خرماها رو داریم. پرتقال رو داریم، عرض میشه خدمتتون لیمو ترش رو داریم.
The arable land has shown its potentials by breaking an international record for the most crops harvested twice in a single crop year. Some of these crops included potatoes, tomatoes, watermelon, corn, and so much more.
خاصیتی که محصولات جنوب داره یک خارج از فصل بودن در شرایطی که تمام دنیا و اکثر مناطق کشور خودمون هم سرما و برف هست، می‌بینیم که اینجا کشت و کاشت و برداشت انواع محصولات در انجام میشه. مزیت دومشون مزیت صادراتیه، چون کشورهای خارج از فصل باز دنیا هم همین شرایط داره، در دنیا هم باز مسئله سرما و یخبندان، بنابراین مزیت و ارزآوری که برای کشور داره. مزیت سوم مزیت سالم و ارگانیک بودن محصولات این مناطق است، خصوصا خرما و مرکبات که شاید بگیم یکی از مرکبات بی‌نظیر دنیا در این مناطق و خرما که هیچ گونه سم و کولی در طول سال اینجا استفاده نمیشه.
The farmlands here are considered some of the most important in the country. It is from here that a country's demand for onions and potatoes are consistently supplied.
حتی تو فصل الان که زمستونه، خب ما الان برداشت پیاز داریم، برداشت سیب زمینی رو داریم، برداشت عرض میشه خدمت خیار رو داریم. در همین الان ما کاشت عرض میشه خدمت ارزن رو داریم، کاشت یونجه رو داریم.
This province is the fourth largest producer of citrus fruits after Mazandaran and Fars provinces. Somewhere around 550,000 tons of citrus fruits are harvested in the southern region of Kerman each year. From oranges to mangoes, you can find almost anything here. The region is a major producer of dates in the country as well.
در مورد مرکبات خدمتتون عرض کنم که مرکبات جنوب استان کرمان که خود من تولید کننده هستم دارای 3 خصیصه است. خصیصه اولین خصیصه‌اش اون ارتفاع هست. ما از ارتفاع 420 متر در منوجان تا بالای 2000 متر در شمال کوههای جیرفت انواع مرکبات را تولید می‌کنیم. خصیصه دیگری که داره ارقامی که در اینجا هست. طبق برآوردی که الان شده در کیسان جیرفت در مرکز تحقیقات ما بیش از 100 نمونه مرکبات داریم.
Kerman is a surprising land when it comes to agriculture. The exceptional intersection between high altitudes, mountain deserts, and tropical cold regions has produced a special natural environment rarely seen in Iran's plateau. To see proof of this, it's enough to just go and visit the area, which is not far from the hottest place in Iran, the Lut Desert.
Many of the vegetables in Kerman are produced in a vast network of greenhouses. Cucumbers, tomatoes, and many more vegetables are grown under controlled environments which make greenhouses ideal for cultivation. These greenhouses are overseen by the Regional Cooperative of Greenhouses. Here you will find cooperatives for bell peppers, eggplant, and strawberries that are specially grown in greenhouses.
حدوداً محصول تولیدیم در سال حدوداً ازای هر هکتار 100 تن 2000 تن محصول تولیدی گلخونه رو دارم. حدود 80 تنش به کشورهای روسیه، این حوزه خلیج فارس، ارمنستان، آذربایجان صادر میکنن. ما بقیه درصد کمش دیگه مصرف داخلی داره. و نسبت به اشتغالی که به وجود آوردم حدود 300 نفر به صورت مستقیم در حال کارن، شغل ایجاد کردم.
Iran currently has a total greenhouse grant area of 21,000 hectares, with hundreds of new greenhouse projects being launched each year. The Agriculture Ministry plans to transfer all vegetables to greenhouses, which will save 10 billion cubic meters of water per year. As a powerhouse for food, the province offers large quantities of daily essential foods, such as wheat, barley, and sesame. But its main cash crops are pistachio, dates, and oranges. This area also has farms for livestock, poultry, and fisheries.
ما همینک کل محصول خرمای تولیدیمون رو به کشورهای روسیه و قزاقستان و افغانستان داریم صادر میکنیم. برنامه‌ریزی داریم میکنیم که یه مقداری از بازارهای اطراف مثلا تو خلیج فارس رو داشته باشیم. سال گذشته به صورت غیر مستقیم یه قسمتی از محصولات این شرکت، یعنی محصول مرکباتش، به کردستان عراق و به کشور قطر صادر شده.
Kerman's food products can potentially feed over 600 million customers in the region. This accounts for 8% of the world's population and 12% of the world's economy. Strategically located in the southeast of Iran, Kerman province offers its natural resources and food products to 15 regional countries with which Iran has land and sea borders.
Earlier in our program, we talked about the importance of cooperatives. These establishments are particularly important for rural women. Women in rural areas play a key role in the agriculture sector. Statistics show there are 10 million rural and nomadic women who contribute to agricultural production in the country. That's around 49% of the entire rural community. This population also faces many challenges.
Most rural women are heads of household as their men often migrate to cities in search for work. So women are left to manage households' family well-being and continuing farm work in their absence. During particular months of the year, women who stay behind outnumber the male residents in some villages. Women are directly engaged in food and agriculture production and processing nationwide. These women contribute to the production of 70% of vegetables, over 80% of handcrafts, 70% of rice farming, and 80% of animal husbandry. The Central Organization for Rural Cooperatives in Iran estimates that there are more than 60,000 rural women who are organized into cooperatives. There are currently over 430 active rural cooperatives for women across the country. These collectives protect the social integrity and legal rights of rural women in the industry. Also, cooperatives help boost women entrepreneurship and livelihoods.
شرکت تعاونی تولید روستایی احرار دو به حساب در سال 1372 به حساب جهت بهره برداری و واگذاری به حساب که بهره بردارانی که از طریق طرح امنیتی که به دستور مقام معظم رهبری و سردار حاج قاسم سلیمانی عزیز طراحی و اجرایی رسید که نزدیک به 350 خانوار به حساب به اشتغال در این منطقه.
Women's cooperative companies have become the principal focus of rural development in recent times. There are plans to establish a national union in order to align rural women cooperatives with the national policy of the Agriculture Ministry. This will help solidify the significant role these women have in the agroeconomy. Plus, it will empower women through a legal framework and backing intended to help them with their small businesses.
Kerman province is a good example of just how women participate in agricultural productions. But this province is just one part of the vast agro-industry which covers many other provinces such as Mazandaran, Fars, and the Khorasan areas. Let's zoom out for a bit and see how these activities fit into the country's market as a whole.
Iran's agro-industry is worth billions. Data from Iran's Customs Administration show the value of the country's agricultural exports rose by around 8.4% this year. Its figures also showed products worth $6 billion were exported this year alone. Around half of revenue generated from exports belong to 10 major agricultural products. At the top of the agro-export list was pistachio, selling off over $1 billion worth of these nuts. Iran's agro-food products also accounted for around 20% of the country's non-oil exports last year.
والا از نظر تحریم ها اثرات منفی خیلی زیادی میتونم بگم نسبت به تولید ما نگذاشت. با توجه به که مثلا تحریم بوده، یه سری نهادها، یه سری بذرها به صورت سخت وارد شده، ما تونستیم مثلا مجبور شدیم چند برابر قیمت اینا رو تهیه بکنیم، ولی تولیدمون میتونیم بگیم که امسال از سال قبل بیشتر هم شده که چه بسا یه مقداری هم امسال اضافه هم کردیم. یعنی الان چیزی حدود 3 هکتار من لوازمش خریداری کردم، به زودی هم شروع میکنم برای اجراش که انشالله برای سال آینده حتما آماده میشه.
Well, it is that special part of the program where I pass the action over to my good friend and colleague out there on the field. So teach us all something new.
Today we're going to talk about a part of a car that most people don't have a clear mental image of. Have you ever heard of a catalytic converter? Well, allow us to show you how advanced materials and state-of-the-art production methods have come together to produce industry-leading designs for emission control products.
Even though cars are an intricate system of computers and tuning, combustion isn't always perfect inside the engine. Thus, you end up with a lot of harmful emissions. Now, what a catalyst does is convert these harmful emissions into unharmful gases.
There are only a handful of countries who manufacture this. In Iran Delco is the proud producer of what could possibly be one of the most important advancements in automotive history.
Could you please tell us a little bit about the company and its history?
از سال 1382 شرکت ایران دلکو وارد صنعت کاتالیست شد. خب اون زمان استاندارد یورو 2 برای خودروسازها الزام بود. خب این شرکت با توجه به توان فنی و واحد تحقیق توسعه‌ای که داره وارد در واقع بحث یورو 4 شد و از سال 93 و 94 دیگه استاندارد یورو 4 رو تونستیم در واقع پیاده بکنیم در مورد محصولاتمون و الان هم که استانداردهای بالاتر مورد نیاز خودروسازها رو میتونیم در واقع تولید بکنیم و تحویلشون بدیم. الان استاندارد یورو 5 داریم کار میکنیم.
Can you imagine the challenges of designing and manufacturing catalysts that can, for example, stop soot from accumulating in an exhaust?
When it comes to today's highly competitive market, to be able to survive, you need to be up to date. That applies to all products and companies. Here is where the role of research and development is highlighted.
To find out more, we spoke to an R&D lab specialist.
Can you tell me about the benefits of having an on-site laboratory and the differences it has placed on your company?
آزمایشگاه ما به عنوان تنها آزمایشگاه مرجع در زمینه کاتالیست خودرو هست که در واقع این یکی از مزیت‌های این آزمایشگاه به شمار میره و با داشتن بروزترین تجهیزات آزمایشگاهی در کنار خط تولید فعالیت میکنه. قبلا اکثر این آزمون‌ها در واقع در خارج از کشور انجام میشد.
Apart from that, I have come to the understanding that your R&D laboratory also does quality control. Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
آزمایشگاه ما در چند مرحله کمک میکنه به کنترل کیفی محصولاتمون. یکی تو مرحله ورودی هستش، مواد اولیه ورودی به شرکت که در حین تولید استفاده میشن توسط آزمایشگاه کنترل کیفی میشن. بعد مراحل دیگه حین تولیدمون هستش که محصولمون در واقع یه سری مواد نیمه ساختمون توی آزمایشگاه کنترل میشه، آزمون‌های مربوطش روش انجام میشه و در نهایت محصول نهاییمون هستش که وارد آزمایشگاه میشه و آزمون‌های مختلف روش انجام میشه.
She went on to say that in the face of stricter and stricter emissions limits and the introduction of new regulations to control additional pollutants from different types of vehicles every so often, being able to maintain Euro standards is no easy task.
High-tech machinery are used in the production of catalytic converters. Now, what this company has done is try to make use of homemade manufacturing machinery as much as they can as soon as they roll out.
At a glance, you might wonder why. This chamber that looks simple enough on the outside houses a rather complex hive-like structure that's been ingeniously designed to optimize surface area to its fullest, providing more heat for chemical reactions and more.
So right now I'm in waiting area, and what I have in my hand is a fully baked ceramic monolith. Now what happens next is that this is placed into a coater where it's covered with different numbers of layers of platinum, palladium and rhodium. Then it is left to dry, after which it goes for canning.
The monolith itself is ceramic and doesn't react with anything, but gets extremely hot and stays super hot, providing a rather good environment in which reactions can take place completely. The end result? Fewer and fewer emissions.
Have been calcined. They are brought here for canning, which is taking place behind me. They are placed inside the catalytic converter. What that guy is doing over there is that he is engraving every converter with the information of the monolith inside it. This is the final product, and after this stage they are moved somewhere else for packing. What about import and export? How do you compare to your international rivals?
بسته به نیاز خودروسازها ما اومدیم کارخونه رو تجهیز کردیم و توسعه دادیم تولیدمون رو به نحوی که الان ظرفیت ما برای تولید کاتالیز حدود 5000 قطعه در روزه. ما برای بازار ثانویه کشورهای همسایه برای چند تا کشورها کار کردیم، صادرات داشتیم و در حال توسعه این هستیم، این موضوع هستیم. نمونه هایی الان تولید شده، داریم ارسال میکنیم، نمونه سازی شده برای کشورهای مختلف، بر اساس نیاز بازارشون داریم روش کار میکنیم و هدفمون این است که در آینده اینو توسعه بدیم.
Obviously, there's a lot more involved in a catalytic converter system. This was simply the basics, so do keep up with us for more.
And for our final portion of the show, we want to take a look at some news and developments in Iran's agriculture industry and its related trades. Iran has inaugurated the first phase of the country's largest agricultural products export terminal in the northern province of Mazandaran.
In a ceremony, President Hassan Rouhani launched part of the project into operation. It is the largest export terminal being constructed in the country, worth around $117 million. The terminal covers 31,000 hectares of land. The first phase of the export terminal has a capacity for over 300,000 tons of goods. The terminal is meant to help introduce Iranian brands into global markets and boost exports.
Azad University's Tech Park and a major holding company have joined hands to launch a startup accelerator specializing in agricultural technology.
The academic institution and holding companies signed a deal to implement research projects on food safety and establish a research and innovation fund. The hopes are that this initiative will help support startups in agri-tech and expand the country's startup ecosystem. The university owns 17 hectares of greenhouses in its hundreds of branches across the country, which can be used as labs by startups.
Date waste products have been known to be a useful ingredient in poultry diets, but can it also be used in feed for bigger birds? The short answer is yes.
Researchers at Arak University have found a good use for a byproduct that comes from dates as an ingredient in ostrich feed. The researchers found that the date waste can be formulated in a way that is compatible with the digestive capacity of ostrich chicks. It was found to improve stress-related variable. Some evidence also showed it could boost the immune system of chicks, but more research is needed.
And with that, we wrap up our program for today. Thank you for joining us on another exciting adventure with Bazaar. I hope you enjoyed the show. See you same time next week. Until then, take care and goodbye for now.